entitlements regardless of the law in any particular state. Logically, they imply duties on the part of states or governments. Rights can be broadly classified as negative and positive rights. Negative rights are civil and political rights that imply a duty of restraint on the part of others, such as the right to life, liberty, and freedom of expression, whereas positive rights are social, cultural, and economic rights like right to development, right to participate in culture, the right to work and receive an education. These imply a duty to act. There are global and regional institutions for protecting and enforcing human rights. The global institutions function under the auspices of the United Nations and include Human Rights Commission, the International Labour Organization, and the Office of High Commissioner for Refugees. There are also committees such as the Human Rights Committee and the Committee on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. At the regional level, we have institutions like the African Human Rights Commission. Protecting and enforcing these rights could fall into two categories: soft forms of implementation that involve inquiry, monitoring, fact-finding, and exposure. One of the key institutions engaged in this is the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights that monitors, provides technical assistance, and advisory services to member states. And the other category is hard form of implementation. This involves coercive measures such as non-recognition, air conditionalities, economic sanction, and military intervention in defense of human rights. The concept of human right is highly complex and controversial. One of such controversies revolves around the scope of human rights. This is about whether it is helpful or damaging to human rights claims to extend them from civil and political rights to economic, social, collective, and developmental spheres. And the other controversy is universality of human rights. This is related to whether certain cultural imperatives override human rights in the political life of citizens. The other major issue raised in this area is the daily violation of human rights. As you know, human rights are protected and upheld by international and national laws and treaties. Despite every nation state in the world having ratified at least one of the many human rights declarations, conventions, and charters, widespread acceptance of human rights principles has been characterized by their violation than their observance. This becomes more problematic when one is faced with issues such as children's rights as set out in the Convention on the Rights of the Child ratified in 1989. The term child in this document spans a huge capability range covering infants entirely dependent on adult provision who should have a positive right to protection, as well as teens who have the capacity to make best interest judgments for themselves that should be protected and respected. In immigration context, this nuanced understanding of the evolving capacities of the child complicates decision-making about the meaning of the best interest of the child, which is the foundational concept of this convention.
Although every child deserves these rights, they are not always protected. Despite the laws and protection measures taken by the states such as the CRC, children and youth's rights are challenged when they undertake migration. Children migrate for several reasons. It can be on their own free will or as a result of adults' initiatives. This can be more problematic for unaccompanied or separated children as they migrate alone. Upon arrival into destination countries, children face several challenges in acclimating to new environments. The journey of migration has 3 phases where children can experience difficult situations that occur before, during, and after the migration process.
different categories of child migrants as a result of such factors that are driving children from their home country, including dependent children, those traveling with parents, or who arrive alone without their guardian. The latter ones are classified as unaccompanied and separated children. The Committee on the Rights of the Child defined unaccompanied children as those children as defined in Article 1 of the Convention who have been separated from both parents and other relatives and are not being cared for by an adult who, by law or custom, is responsible for doing so. And separated children are defined as those children who have been separated from both parents or from their previous legal or customary primary caregiver, but not necessarily from other relatives. This may therefore include children accompanied by other adult family members. Their reasons for migrating may be similar to unaccompanied children, and on many occasions relatives accompany separated children to help them reunite with their parents. Because of the rising concern regarding those children who arrive with an adult but the relationship to the adult is uncertain, such cases as teenage or child marriage, they are categorized as accompanied and unaccompanied. Some children who are unaccompanied or separated are trapped by traffickers or exploitive employers or held by smugglers refusing to hand them over to parents waiting to reunify their family. These children need positive protection by the state, including legal support, social and emotional care as prelude to family reunification. Other children who have left home on their own, leaving behind situations of abuse or exploitation, need to be protected from families and spared rather than forced into family unity. Policies that force these children back home without scrutinizing the homes to which return is being effected may contribute to trafficking, exploitation, dangerous situations, including health and malnutrition. Furthermore, researchers of child migration do not portray the different journeys and categories of child migration. These problems are further compounded in the case of estimating the numbers of children affected by migration, because children often do not appear separately from adults in the statistics. Reliable national data level about the incidence of all kinds of child migration are exceedingly rare. Where these are available, categories are used in different ways by different writers, and there is a lack of consensus regarding terms and their operationalizing. Additionally, the focus on particular type of child migrants, such as trafficked children, invisibilizes child migrants who do not fall into these categories. Says that there are few estimates as to how many other children are moving or for what reasons. Presently, the concern is more towards the dilemmas associated with children's border crossing, where states have to balance positive protection, that is caring for them as they are at the risk of having no adult caring for them, and punitive attention that is related to security concerns, the nativist protectionism over employment opportunities, and their presence as suspected gang members or otherwise threatening outsiders who pose challenge to existing structure have become a real problem. The existing domestic child protection laws of different countries, which address the problems facing children without satisfactory homes, do not often cover issues of foreign citizenship, including the risk of deportation and the lack of entitlement to social benefits that non-citizen children can face. The international law has long recognized the distinctive needs of some groups of child migrants. The Declaration on the Rights of the Child, adopted by the League of Nations in 1924, defines rights relevant to child migrants as the primacy of the child's right to relief in times of distress, which is the precursor to the attention to the special needs of refugee children, and the imperative of protection for exploited children that refers to child trafficking. Moreover, recent regional and domestic legislation regulating immigration have included provisions promoting family unity and, by implication, the migration of children with or to join their adult relatives. A broader engagement with many other aspects of child migration, however, has been absent. There is no single piece of international or regional legislation that systematically and comprehensively addresses this issue.
This map depicts the migration trends and flows. The geography of migration flows is changing as new destinations emerge globally. Traditionally, there have been migrant flows to advanced economies of North America and Europe, which are shown in the light tan color. However, now there are new migrant destination areas shown in the dark orange color. Population movements among low and middle income countries are occurring, also known as south-to-south migration. There has been a shift in global migration as migrants are now moving to new emerging global cities such as Hong Kong, Tokyo, Rio, Cape Town, and Moscow.
Let's explore some of the problems. The government prioritizes and cares more about unaccompanied children. They might be taken care of in the new nation or returned home. They will be at the mercy of child institutions. If they are on their own, when there are no institutions to look after them, children often fall into trafficking. The children that are returned home may attempt a second journey. The following stories are about child migrants. This is Rob. He migrated with his sister from Nigeria to Europe. During the journey, they lost their mother in Libya. This is Carla. At the age of 12, she migrated from Mexico City to Guadalajara, Mexico, because she wanted to start a family with the love of her life, who turned out to be a human trafficker in the prostitution industry. This is Dennis. At age 12, he migrated from Honduras, riding on top of the freight train called the Beast, to get to the United States because he wanted to see his mother since he didn't know her. This is Isaac, a 17-year-old from Ghana. He migrated to Italy because he was persuaded by a man from his village to seek a better life elsewhere. This is Taylor, an 11-year-old from Seoul, South Korea. He migrated to Atlanta, Georgia, because his mom's job was transferred there. This is Vandi, a 12-year-old from Freetown, Sierra Leone, who migrated to Revere, United States, because there was a war in his country, so they had to leave. At the age of 6, his family was living in a refugee camp in Liberia.
UNICEF's child protection initiatives help to provide a living wage for parents so that their children do not have to work to support the family and can attend school instead. They help lobby governments and other partners to develop laws and strengthen child protection systems to prevent and respond to violence and abuse. They work with communities and faith-based organizations to change harmful societal norms that make children more vulnerable to exploitation. And they also support the training of professionals working with children, including social workers, health workers, and police and border officials to help stop trafficking. They have launched a global end trafficking campaign where they help governments strengthen child protection systems, ensure that child victims are placed in safe environments, and provide social services and healthcare, and support trainings for police and border officials to stop signs of trafficking and to treat children with the dignity and respect that they deserve. This campaign has also advocated for public participation, where schools and colleges worldwide have created UNICEF clubs to increase awareness about the issues behind child exploitation. Save the Children's programs are focused on child protection from exploitation. They have public policy trainings and launch advocacy campaigns to increase awareness on child trafficking. In El Salvador, where sex trafficking and child labor is ranked one of the highest in the region, Save the Children conducts awareness trainings in schools. This is so that children can learn how to keep safe and where to report if they see or know of any suspicious activity. In Honduras, the National Campaign Against Trafficking in Persons was launched by the Commission Against Commercial Sexual Exploitation and Trafficking, the government of Honduras, the Institutional Support Program Against Trafficking, and global communities with support from the U.S. State Department. The program worked directly in the community with schools and sports events to help educate people on what the signs of human trafficking are. And in areas frequented by tourists, the campaign used English to help spread the word to outsiders who could potentially identify victims. This was to prevent more people from falling victim to these crimes. With all these complex issues involving child migration, we recommend a more comprehensive rights-based approach, one that prioritizes the best interest of the child. Many programs and policies by international NGOs are often focused on child trafficking. However, there are other factors that influence child migration that are often forgot about, so we recommend an expansion of programs that goes beyond trafficking, ones that address all underlying issues that push children out of their home countries. Broad global end trafficking campaigns may be helpful. However, we recommend that programs be looked at on a country-by-country basis in order to address the root causes and not just the proximate causes. Policies should address the root causes to ensure that human rights and sustainable development for all displaced children. Lastly, we recommend that there should be social and economic policies in destination countries so that displaced children do not get left behind and can too have an opportunity for a promising future.